Welcome back to another episode. I'm joined by Jeffrey Deskovich, who spent 16 years in jail for a murder he did not commit. So, how are we doing today, Jeffrey?
I'm doing great. Wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. I just sort of watched your TED talk, and I kind of wanted to come in a bit like blind to your story. So, I was just wondering if we start off with a bit of the background, if that's okay.
Of course, absolutely. I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, sure. Will you just first explain to me like what it was like growing up where you lived, like the town you lived in, or wherever you lived?
Yeah, I lived in Peekskill, which was a suburbs in Westchester County, New York, which obviously is in the United States.
Yeah,
It was a ethnically diverse middle class neighborhood. I kind of lived a double life there. I didn't really think of it like that at the time. I mean, I was 16 years old, and
yeah,
but after school, I was kind of like the life of the party. So whatever activity I would suggest would pretty much be what we would do. If that was playing basketball or play stickball or play Monopoly, go play video games, ride bikes. We even had games we made up. But that was after school. In school, I was quiet to myself. I didn't really fit in. So that was my life in school.
yeah. Would you say you had quite a happy childhood growing up?
Absolutely. Yes, I would say that.
What was your school life like? Like, did you have many friends? Like, what kind of kid were you like? Were you like a jock or?
No, I was definitely not a jock. No, I was well, the kids were in school were actually it was a different group of kids than what I had grew up playing with in the apartment complex and the surrounding areas. And they were actually a little bit older than I was. I had skipped a grade when I was really young, and that never really caught up to me until in high school. So they really were into parties and drinking beer and chasing girls, and I'm playing organized sports, and I really wasn't into that at that point. I
Yeah,
was more doing the activities after school, but those were like pickup games. It wasn't really organized. So in school, I was quiet. I was to myself, and I didn't participate in a lot of organized sports. And really, that made me seem strange to the kids in the high school.
yeah. It was your classmate that was murdered, right? Just walk me through sort of the day that you found out that she was murdered.
Yeah. So I mean, it was in the newspaper. It was in the daily newspaper in Westchester called the Journal News, and it said that no, actually it's called the Evening Star. It later became the Journal News, but it said teen found, and it had a picture. It had a picture of my classmate Angela Correa, and it just said that she was found naked she was found murdered, naked from the waist down. It had a map as well in the area.
And what was your like initial reaction to that when you first saw it?
I was really shocked and surprised because I mean, and I had an emotional reaction as well. I mean, I thought
Yeah,
that I mean, those are my first brush with death. I thought it was something that that happened when people were much, had lived a full life and everything. And
yeah.
so it was that I did have emotional reaction to it. But then again, many people in the city of Peekskill did as well. I mean, to the point that free mental health services were offered to anyone in Peekskill who wanted it.
It was quite a small town where you lived, so this must have been like the first murder in quite a while then.
Yeah, it hadn't been a murder in Peekskill in maybe 20 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it had the whole the city basically came to a halt almost. I mean, parents were concerned with their own safety and
yeah,
safety of their children. They were picking their kids up from high school and bringing them back, to they're picking them up at school and bringing them home.
yeah. So just sort of explain to me how you kind of got wrapped up into being a suspect.
So a couple of factors. So firstly, some of the kids told the police that they might want to talk to me because how we didn't quite fit in.
Yeah.
Second thing was the police thought that my having an emotional reaction to the death of a classmate was suspicious.
Or what for being too emotional about it?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
they thought that that was some sort of outward sign that I was sorry for what I had done. And then a third thing was that they got a psychological profile from the NYPD, which
Yeah.
purported to have the psychological characteristics of the actual perpetrator. And I unfortunately matched those characteristics. And, so I think that was a reinforcing factor.
Yeah. So what were the police like with you when they initially questioned you?
Well, when they initially questioned me, I mean, they did the whole good cop, bad cop routine where one officer takes a more aggressive role, whereas his partner pretends to be opposed to what's going on, but powerless to intervene.
Yeah,
They initially were speaking to me as if I was a suspect, but then when they would, push too hard and I was frightened, became frightened, and I wanted to get away from them, that's when they switched it up. And Jeff as this junior detective helper theme was what they what they did, and that really intersected with I want before I was a teenager, I wanted to be a cop when I grew up.
yeah,
So them playing this good cop, when them protect Jeff as this junior detective helper theme um, was how they pulled the wool over my eyes as to that. And then also, I did come from a single parent household. My father was never involved in my life at all, and I began to look to the officer who's been pretending to be my friend as a father figure.
yeah. Did your opinions of cops change like when you were in prison? Like, did you think just like most cops are bad?
I didn't think that most cops were bad, but I knew that some cops were bad, and I
Yeah,
knew that it wasn't a few bad apples. I mean,
yeah.
it was a lot more than that, but I didn't overgeneralize.
So
But
so
yeah,
how?
prior to that, I mean, I
Yeah,
thought that the cops were our friends, and they would never lie. They're there to protect us, and
yeah.
if you're innocent and you didn't do anything, of course you can talk to the police. I mean, why not? What could possibly go wrong? What could happen?
So like, what grounds did they arrest you on? Was it like a kind of forced confession that they made you make?
Yes, for about 6 weeks, they played this cat and mouse game with me. Half the time, they talked to me as suspect, as I mentioned. That half they pretend like they need my help to solve the crime. They'd say things like, "The kids won't talk freely around us, but they will around you. Let us know if you have it. Let us know if you hear anything. Stop in from time to time." They asked me opinion questions. They congratulate me that my opinion was correct. Eventually, they got me to agree to take a lie detector test. And so instead of going to school, I went to the police station for the test. They drove me from Peekskill, which was in Westchester County, New York, United States. They drove me to the town of Brewster, which is in Putnam County, a different county in New York in the United States. So 40 minutes away by car. So I couldn't leave anymore on my own. I was totally dependent upon the police. I didn't have an attorney present. They didn't give me anything to eat. They gave me a 4-page brochure which explained how the polygraph worked, but it had a lot of big words in it which I didn't understand. But then I thought, well, I'm there to help the police, so what does it matter? Let's
Yeah,
just get
I
on
guess
with
you
it.
thought you didn't really need an attorney because you're going there willingly and they're kind of acting like your friends.
Yeah, exactly. And they gave me countless cups of coffee, and they didn't give me anything to eat the whole time I was there. I didn't
Wow.
have an attorney present. My mother and grandmother thought I was in school, and uh, they put me in a small room, and they gave me the polygraphist. So the polygraphist is a Putnam County Sheriff's investigator, but he was pretending to be a civilian.
Wow.
So he gave me
Is that
countless.
like even allowed?
Yeah, they are allowed to lie to suspects. Yes,
Yeah.
and he gave me countless cups of coffee to get me nervous.
Yeah.
And then from there, he launched into his third-degree tactics. So he raised his voice at me. He invaded my personal space. He kept asking me the same questions over and over again. And he kept that up for 6.5 to 7 hours.
Wow. So he was trying to like kind of skew the results and polygraph detectors aren't really that accurate to begin with,
No,
are
they're
they?
not exactly. No, they're not accurate at all. No, in fact, even intelligence officers, people who are, like the
Yeah.
spy and intelligence thing, they're trained on, how to beat the polygraph. So that
Yeah.
tells you all you need to know as far as that. Towards the end of the interrogation, he said, "What do you mean you didn't do it? You just told me through the test that you did. We just want you to verbally confirm it." And when he said that to me, that really shot my fear to the roof. And at that point, the officer had been pretending to be my friend. He came in the room and told me that the other officers were going to harm me, but that he'd been holding them off, but he couldn't do so any longer, that he had to help myself, that I had to help myself. And then he said, "Well, just tell them what they want to hear. They'll stop what they're doing. You can go home afterwards. You're not going to be arrested." Being young, naive, frightened, 16 years old, I wasn't thinking about the long term. I was just concerned with my safety in the moment. I was in fear of my life. The fact that I didn't know where I was and no one else knew where I was either loomed very large in my mind. I was overwhelmed emotionally and psychologically. Then there was this push-pull dynamic, the possibility of harm, then this false promise. So I made up a story based on the information which they had given me in the course of the interrogation. By the time it was all said and done, I had collapsed on the floor in a fetal position, crying uncontrollably.
Wow.
Uh, Needless to say, I definitely was arrested. I was charged with a murder and rape.
Well, was this interrogation not recorded at all by them? Did they not
No, it
record
was
it?
not recorded. Nope, they did not record it. There was no audio tape. There was no videotape. No signed confession. Just the cop's word for it. And later, when they came to court, they left the threat and false promise out of their story.
Yeah, but surely they're not allowed to use the polygraph results against you in court, are they? Or is that not
They're
true?
not supposed to. They're not
Yeah,
supposed to, but they did. The judge allowed the polygraphist to tell the jury repeatedly, that he allowed the polygraphist to tell the jury that I failed the test.
oh wow. So you got arrested then and there when you like kept in like a holding cell until the trial.
I was kept in the jail for about 35 days, but I got
Yeah,
bailed out. But it was my life. Thought I was going back to my life when I got bailed out, but
yeah,
there was never any going back to that. I mean, they wouldn't allow me to go back to school as long as the case was open. I was a hated figure in Peekskill and in Westchester as a whole. I mean, everybody thought I was guilty. There was a lot of prejudicial pretrial
yeah,
coverage. And since I was hated, nobody wanted to play with me. And to the extent that anyone wanted to, any of my former friends, their parents would not allow would not allow them to.
yeah. So
So
what was like your mum and your grandma's initial reaction when they found out that you had been arrested?
yeah, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Did they believe you and were on your side about it?
They were. They
Yeah.
did. They did, and they were. Yes. Yeah. Then at some point before the trial started, I mean, the DNA test result came in from the FBI lab, which showed that semen in the victim didn't match me.
Yeah.
But instead of stopping the case, they continued to prosecute full speed ahead. The prosecutor claimed, well, the prosecutor got the medical examiner to commit fraud, and he claimed that he forgot to document medical evidence that he said showed the victim had been sleeping around, that she was promiscuous,
Oh
you
wow. So
know, and
basically like trying to slut shame the victim.
well, she was dead, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of, but they were trying to slut shame her in the sense that they were trying to say, look, she was sleeping around.
Yeah.
That's why the semen wasn't yours. It's not that you're innocent. She slept with someone else, but before you raped and murdered her. So that's what that was about. And then they claimed that they even went further than that and mentioned someone by name that they claimed she had slept with. And but they never tried to
Yeah.
prove that. They didn't have DNA tests performed. They didn't call him as a witness. They just made the unsupported argument to the jury. And my public defender basically didn't defend me. He didn't put my alibi witness on. He never cross-examined the medical examiner. He never used the DNA evidence to challenge the confession.
Yeah.
He would not allow me to testify. Uh, so he basically didn't defend me. And when you add it all up, I was wrongfully convicted and I was given a 15 to life sentence, which I was sent to a men's maximum security prison to serve.
So what was that like being sat in the court knowing that you're completely innocent and this guy won't defend you? Did you not want to sort of like scream out and just say like I didn't do it and stuff like that?
Well, I didn't realize that he wasn't doing his job. I,
Yeah.
I didn't I didn't understand really what was going on fully in the courtroom. So I mean, he had said to me, "Look, just sit back and relax. Let me let me do your job. You're
Yeah.
17 years old. You already didn't listen to an adult once. Because my mother didn't want me to speak to the police. So he was like,
Yeah.
so he used that. Well, you already didn't listen to the adult once, and look what happened. Let's not make that mistake again. Just sit back and let me do my job."
So when you were in that courtroom, did you think like, yeah, I'm gonna be okay, like I'm gonna get out of this? Is
Yes,
that
I
100%?
did.
Yeah.
100%. That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was innocent and I thought I
Yeah,
believed in the
of
court
course.
system. Yes.
So what was it like finding out like the guilty verdict? Like what went through your head?
Yeah, I remember they read the first couple of charges. They found me not guilty. And then then they read a few more charges, and then they said, I remember hearing guilty,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, wait a minute, did I miss the word not? No, they
Yeah.
couldn't have said that, right? And then I heard guilty, guilty. I heard, they pronounced three times, and I felt like I was in some sort of nightmarish alternative reality because up until that point in time, uh, I thought that only the guilty were convicted, but
Yeah.
they said what they did, and I was taken into custody.
Wow. So what's it like? Do they take you like to jail straight away? Do they put you in
Yes.
where you're going to be for like the whole 15 years?
No, they take you from the courtroom. They put you in a holding cell in the courtroom,
Yeah.
and then they take you to the county jail.
Yeah.
And at some point after that, they send you to the state prison systems. They send you to a reception area where they evaluate you. They give you the prison supplies. They decide what prison they're going to send you to, and from there, then they send you to like a more permanent facility.
And that's where you stay for the whole time.
I stayed for most of the time there. I mean,
Yeah.
that was Elmira Correctional Facility. I spent 13 and a half years there in total, but I mean, I got transferred from there to other prisons and then back to Elmira and then elsewhere. I was there in Elmira three different times. So I did the bulk of my time there, but I also did a year and a half at Shawangunk, and I did 3 weeks in Eastern, and the last 28 days I did in Sing Sing.
Oh wow. So just sort of explain to me your first night in prison. Like, what was that like? As
Yeah,
in, like the main like, place you were going.
Yeah, I remember it was really strange environment because I mean I walked down the cell gallery and there were prisoners there, their arms as big as my legs, and
Yeah.
even just to get to the prison I was put in handcuffs. I had a chain around my waist and I'm fastened to my legs are fastened together and fastened to the prisoner on the bus next to me, and the prison wall looks very
Oh wow.
large, and the barbed wire is looking pretty menacing, and I see the prisoners big that way, and they were all adults, and a lot of them were guilty of serious crimes. And I'm innocent. I'm 17 years old,
Wait,
150 pounds.
so you're 17 at this point. Do you not go to
Yes.
like a juvenile facility? You
No.
go straight
No.
into adult prison.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I was charged as an adult. When in the United States, if someone is charged as an adult, they're sent
Yeah.
to an adult maximum security prison.
Oh, that's horrible. So you got into prison and did you have like a cellmate or did you get your own cell?
No, I had my own cell. They didn't start cellmates until 1995.
Yeah. So like what was like a typical day in prison for you, like when you got there?
Well, they would ring the bell at around 6:40, around 6:40, and that would let you know that they're going to come around and walk around in another like 5 to 7 minutes. Then they ring the bell again, then they walk around, they do rounds, and they're just counting to make sure that nobody's escaped and that nobody's dead.
Yeah.
So they do the count. Then they'll ring the bell again at 7 o'clock, and they open the cells, and you go to the go to the mess hall, which is another way of saying go to the cafeteria. And you eat, and then you leave, and you go out to your morning assignment. You go through a metal detector, and you're there from the time you arrive, maybe around 8:30,
Yeah.
8:30, and you're there until 11 o'clock in the morning. And you go back through the metal detector, and you go back to your cell, and then they count again. Then they ring the bell at 12 o'clock. You come out, you go to the cafeteria again, and from there you go through the metal detector and you go to your afternoon program where you'll be until about 3 o'clock, 3:15. And then if it's a night that you have recreation, then you go back to your cell until about 5 o'clock, and then you go to the mess hall if you choose to
Yeah.
eat, and then they'll let you out for recreation at night at 7 o'clock, and you're there until approximately quarter to 10. But if it's a night that they do not have recreation, then around 3:15, you you instead of going back to your cell, you go out to the yard for an hour,
Yeah.
and then you go back to your cell, and then you go to the cafeteria, and then you stay in your cell the rest of the night.
Oh, was there any opportunity to like have jobs there or like be in the kitchen staff or like wood shop or anything like that?
Yes, yeah, though, yeah, that would have been morning or afternoon
Yeah.
assignments. So for me, I try to orient everything I did that had some kind of potential benefit when I was released. So I got GED, I learned to type,
Yeah.
I took a class on use of computer in job setting that was called general business. I learned to paint. I took plumbing class. I got associate's degree. I completed a year towards the bachelor's. At the time, the funding was cut. I did work in food service. I worked in computer repair. I worked as a teacher's aide, helping other prisoners prepare to get the GED and
Yeah.
even just to learn basic writing and math. So I did all of those programs. I used to go to the law library all the time and try to learn the law, and I would read articles of the people that were exonerated. And from 1998 forward, I read like three or four nonfiction books a week from then until 2006. And
Wow.
during the whole all this time, I was appealing my case also.
So what was like your 21st birthday like in jail? Because I know like everybody wants like their 21st birthday to go out, like have your first drink. Like, so what was it like just being in prison? Like, do you remember
I
the actual
I
night of your 21st birthday?
I don't because it doesn't stick out. It was just like
Such a blur.
any other day in prison, except for the fact that it was a little bit more stressful than what it normally would be because it was my birthday. So I mean,
Yeah.
birthdays, holidays, special days are especially stressful in prison.
Do they like do anything for it or let you have any privileges? Or
No, it's just like
no,
any
nothing
other
at all.
day.
Wow.
No, I mean, you can get it. I mean, if somebody wants to come visit you, they can visit you. I mean, but
Yeah.
they can do in a maximum security prison. They can do that any day.
Yeah.
So that's not really, but they don't do anything special for you that day. No.
Yeah. So other than like obviously your family, like what was the thing you miss most about the outside world?
I think just being free. I mean, just the simple
Yeah.
things. I mean, just to feel. I mean, they used to, when you'd be outside in the yard, and when it get dark, they close the yard. So just being able to be outside in the dark, or I didn't feel like I really got enough fresh air, or not enough sun. So
Yeah.
I missed those things a lot, and I really hated being in a place where violence was part of everyday life in prison. There were, three or four stabbings or cuttings every
Oh
day, and
wow.
gang activity and violence that did not involve weapons. So there was a lot of violence and adrenaline. You always had to be alert.
Yeah. So you were accused of murder and rape as well. Is that right?
That is right. Yes.
So what was it? Because I know in prison, like other prisoners don't really take kindly to like rapists. So
Right.
what was it
Exactly.
like? Everyone knowing that you were accused of that.
Well, I don't think they all knew that. I mean,
Yeah.
lucky
Yeah.
for me, they didn't all knew that. But
Yeah.
I did have that, metaphorical bullseye on my back. It was always in
Yeah.
the back of my mind that the concern that people would discover what I was incarcerated for, and that would be motivation on their part to assault me. So there
Yeah.
were times in the course of my incarceration that I was beat up, and one time I nearly lost my life,
Oh
but
wow.
it didn't happen all the time. I mean, I got hit multiple times on the side of my head with a 10-pound weight plate. But
Wow.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, not everybody knew what I was incarcerated for.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was not like widespread, thing all the time. I mean, at times some people found out and I had issues, but it wasn't widespread. But it was very dangerous. It was very dangerous for me. I'm lucky I survived, honestly.
Yeah. So when you were being like beaten up, did the guards not instantly like rush to it and stop it? They
Yeah, well,
do.
yeah, they do. I mean, well, they push a button. They
Yeah.
sound like an alarm. They have like a personal alarm system, and then like a bunch of guards come running. There's like I mean, all the guards have certain posts,
Yeah.
but but within those posts, they're also on that special. If the alarm is pulled, that they leave the post, and they so the guard would pull the alarm system, and once the cavalry arrives, then they'll
Yeah.
go in and try to help. You're on your own until then.
Wow. And so when you're in a fight, and
Yeah.
someone else has started it, so they're
Uh-huh.
beating you up afterwards, do
Yeah.
you also get in trouble as well?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
do when you
because
haven't even started it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, if you're trying to defend yourself, then you obviously you're fighting, right?
Yeah.
That's how they look at it. It's kind of crazy, and the implication of that. I mean, they really had they had sanctions that were imposed on the prisoners if they were found guilty of breaking the prison rules. So they
Yeah.
would you'd be kept in a cell 23 hours a day, and it sends you less food. They sometimes the food would be 3 or 4 days old. They'd put you in a small caged area with maybe a pull-up by yourself, with maybe a pull-up bar in it if you were lucky. You could not go to the store and buy items, and you could take 2 showers one week and three the rest, three the other, rather than being able to shower daily. And you could
Was
not
it
use the phone
kind
while
of
you're on
kind
that
of like a
status.
solitary confinement?
Kind of like a solitary confinement. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, and
wow.
that could be up to 30, that could be up to 30 days.
Oh shit, that's
So
horrible.
every time that,
Yeah,
every time that happened, I was subjected to those sanctions. I wasn't just dealing with the physicality, but those things
yeah,
happened. And then it's another thing to explain to the parole board when you go to the parole board, when they consider you for discretionary release, it's something else that they're probably going to ask you about.
yeah. So what's it like being in prison and pleading that you're innocent? Because surely a lot of prisoners also plead that who aren't innocent.
Well, actually, I mean, guilt, innocence. I mean, I never really found that to be true. So, I mean,
Yeah.
prisoner in general, prisoners are not really, they don't really discuss innocence while they're in prison. I mean, and there's a
Okay.
variety of reasons for that. So, first of all, there's no point, because
Okay.
nobody that you're going to be talking to has the power to do anything to help you. So that's number one. A second thing is, if you're there for a sex offense like I was,
Yeah.
as far as the charge, you would not want to call attention to yourself by saying you were innocent. Oh, really? You're innocent? What is it
Yeah.
that you're innocent of? What are your charges? Let me see your paperwork. And another concern also is that if you get the conviction overturned, but you have to go back to trial,
Yeah.
somebody might falsely claim that you admitted to them while you were walking around the yard, you admitted to them that you committed the crime, and so they might do that to try to make a deal for them to go home sooner. So
Yeah.
that's another reason why you would not say that. And actually, when you go to parole board, or even they want you to take the sex offender training program,
Yeah.
has a guilt admission requirement tied to it. I mean, they try to coerce me into taking that, but I didn't take it. But my point is that there's a number of settings in which actually saying that you're innocent, actually, can work against you.
So does it happen a lot? People being falsely accused and convicted.
I think that it's 15 to 20%.
Wow. In
Other
the whole of
experts would
America.
from the whole of America.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I mean, there's a website called the National Registry of Exoneration, which is a
Yeah.
clearinghouse. They catalog exonerations across the country. And last time I checked, a few weeks ago, they were up to 2,775 exonerations just from
Oh wow.
1991 forward. But I do want to share, though, that
Yeah.
wrongful conviction is not just simply an American problem. I mean, it's a worldwide problem. And I think that in countries where we don't hear about wrongful convictions, it's not because they're not happening. It's that nobody's being exonerated. Nobody's working
Yeah.
on those cases. I mean, there's been a lot of there's been wrongful convictions in the UK. Yeah, Jerry Conlon and the Guildford Four.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, if you got a chance, I think the best wrongful conviction movie out there is that takes place in the setting of the UK. It was called In the Name of the Father, which was a play on words, by the way. The exculpatory material, the evidence that proved that Jerry Conlon and
Yeah.
his father were innocent was found in the file that was named after it was in his father's file. The clerk handed his lawyer the father's file rather than his file, and hence the double meaning.
What was he
Yeah.
accused of?
Yeah, that was of bombing. He was accused of doing
Okay.
a bombing. Yeah, but he
Oh
was
wow.
later, he was eventually exonerated, and so were his co-defendants. Although his father passed away while he was still
Yeah.
wrongfully imprisoned. Yeah.
So it might sound like a stupid question, but I've seen on like TV and movies, you go to like a prison cafeteria, they just put like this like slop on your plate. Like what was the food actually like though?
Yeah, right, right. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. I mean, it's not much different than that.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bit more organized. You have your tray and you walk it down the line, and there's all these different stations that you stop. Like there's one person that puts the entree and the starch whether there's potatoes or rice or
Yeah.
or noodles, and then there's another person that you as you're sliding your tray and your plate down, another person puts vegetables, and you keep going down. Another person there's bread and there's butter, and then towards the end there's whatever they're serving for dessert, and you get a cup of Kool-Aid. But
Oh
so
wow.
it is a little bit more organized in that way rather than just one stop, plop, drop.
Yeah.
But that having been said, in terms of the food quality, absolutely terrible. I mean, sometimes the food would be burned. Other times it wouldn't quite be fully cooked, and it's still other times, there would be an issue with the portion control.
Yeah.
So I like, for example, when it was they served pizza, they gave out one slice of pizza, which would be maybe half of the size of a Sicilian piece. So
Yeah.
that would be the main that would be the main course. So sometimes, just given that, as I remember Sunday dinner, we'll put quotes around that,
Mm.
was two pieces of bologna, a piece of
Oh.
cheese, a old hot dog bun, not even a piece of bread, a small bag of chips that mostly has air in it, and maybe a quarter of a sliced peach, and that was Sunday dinner.
Oh
So it wasn't
no.
that much, mate. Not that much.
Did you not get like hamburgers or like chicken fingers or anything? No, it was just all that horrible stuff.
Well, look, they did give hamburgers. I mean, it wasn't real chopped meat. It was soybean. It was
Yeah.
soybean. They could give chicken fingers, no, but they did have like a chicken patty that they did give out. Some of it was decent. I mean, I actually liked the
Yeah.
chicken patty actually. The hamburgers were decent, but there was a lot of other food that was not very good. Like I said, it was
Yeah.
burned or not properly cooked. And sometimes I would bring a lot of different condiments with me to the mess hall. Like I'd bring packets of ketchup and mustard or hot sauce or Sassoon packet, and I would just try to doctor up whatever they served, just
Yeah.
to try to make it a little bit easier to wolf
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Did you get like other people stealing other people's food as well? Because like obviously it's quite a small portion. Did people go around taking other
No,
food?
no, that did no, that did not, no, that didn't happen. But what there was though, there was a lot of tray watching. So
Yeah.
the phrase "Are you going to eat that?
Yeah.
Are you eating that?" was heard often. So everybody had a different level of tolerance of what they could
Yeah.
eat. So what I might not be able to eat, you might be able to stomach. So
Also, you
you
swap
see
stuff
it
around.
if you
Like,
see it, yeah, of course. Yeah,
yeah.
you give me this, I'll give you that. Or, you might wait for 5 or 6 minutes. You see I'm not touching something. Hey, you eating that. So that would be where that would come in at. Yeah.
And what was the first meal you had when you like left prison?
Yeah, I had mussels with fried diavolo sauce
Yeah.
with
Nice.
a side of Big Ziti and Neapolitan ice cream. And so actually when I was having a bite of the Neapolitan ice cream with the spoon, as I'm bringing the spoon to my mouth,
Yeah.
there was a photographer there from the media, and he like snapped a picture. So for a half a second, I kind of sort of felt what it might be like to be a celebrity with a
Yeah.
paparazzi, popping out of nowhere with the camera. But just to round up, we were talking about prison. I want to mention that it was not just a physical thing, but
Yeah.
also you fight off feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, thoughts of giving up,
Yeah.
suicidal ideation. So I did lose 7 appeals. I did get turned down for parole as well,
Yeah.
mainly because I maintained my innocence instead of expressing remorse and taking responsibility. Eventually, I was exonerated after 16 years. I mean, yeah, after I lost all the 7 of appeals, I wrote letters for 4 years trying to get a lawyer and investigator to take my case for free, because the only way back into court once your appeals are over
Yeah.
is if you can find some new evidence. So that meant I needed someone to look for the evidence for me, since I was locked up and I
Yeah.
would not be looking for anything myself personally. So that I got turned down for parole. Ultimately, I did get exonerated through further DNA testing. So one of the letters I wrote uh, found its way to an investigator, and she got the Innocence Project to take my case. And
Yeah.
once they took my case, that was the first key. The district attorney left office that had fought all my appeals, and then we took the crime scene DNA evidence and we put it in the DNA data bank, and we got lucky that it identified the actual perpetrator, whose
Wow.
DNA was only in that data bank because left free while I was doing time for his crime, he killed a second victim 3.5 years later, after who was a school teacher and had two
Yeah.
children. He killed her 3.5 years after killing the victim in my case.
Oh wow. And they basically
They arrested him. They arrested
arrested
him, and
him.
he was,
Yeah.
yeah, they arrested him, and my conviction was overturned, and I was released. And then a short time after that, they dismissed the charges against me on actual innocence grounds.
So when you initially left, you still had these charges over you, so you couldn't get like a job or anything. Is that right?
That's right.
So like, what
Yeah.
what did you do for money? Because you just left like prison and you've got no money.
Well, I started doing. So I met somebody who had been a concert promoter,
Yeah.
and I he knew that I wanted to try to do professional speaking. So, you
Yeah.
know, his skills at negotiating contracts were what translated over. So I started doing speaking engagements, and then I did get a job as a weekly columnist.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I know I was always, other than that, I was always passed over. I was always passed over for gainful employment, and as a result of that, I did lack stability of housing. At one point, I was just a couple of weeks away from being in a homeless shelter, but
Wow.
Mercy College allowed me to live, which gave me a scholarship to finish the bachelor's degree. They allowed me to live on campus, and they gave me a meal plan. So it took 5 years before I got compensated, but rounding
Wow.
out,
5 years.
it took me 5 years before I got anything.
You'd
Yes, it
think it
was.
would be sort of instant as soon as they realized they'd like fucked up. They'd just give you the money.
They should do it that way,
Yeah.
but that still doesn't work that way.
Wow.
But it was very difficult reintegrating back into society. The world was different.
Yeah.
Cell phones, GPS, internet hadn't been created previously. Culture was different. Uh, looked cities and towns looked different as well. So cumulatively, it felt like I was in an alternative reality,
Yeah.
a parallel world that I didn't belong in. There were the psychological after effects. It's common for people to have post-traumatic stress disorder, panic attacks, anxiety, fear of seeing law enforcement, feeling of having been frozen in time, feeling of processing things at a slower speed, stigma. You're
What?
in prison.
Yeah. What was it like going back to your hometown afterwards, or have you been
Yes.
back there? Yeah.
No, I definitely have been back there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I go there semi-frequently now.
Yeah.
First time I went there, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was kind of frightened because the last time
Yeah.
I was there, I was really a hated figure, and I wasn't sure how people were going to react to me. But
Yeah.
people react very warmly to me, and when
That's
people
good
would
though.
see me, they would start honking the horns and waving and coming up to me and shaking my hand and everything. So I kind of got like a hero's welcome, triumphant return type thing, which made me feel good because I was last time I was there, I was a hated figure.
Yeah.
So
That's good though.
yeah, that was good going back, but it did have that. And then one difficulties I found was that the lieutenant who oversaw everything, which happened to me, he actually had become the police chief,
Oh.
based in part on his work in my case. And even
Yeah.
after his role was clear, they stayed with him as the police chief for another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. So that was going to be my next question actually. Like, did you see any of the cops that put you in jail when you went back?
Well, I saw him one time. I was at the same event that he was at, but
Yeah.
but um but beyond that, I mean, I did file a lawsuit, and
Yeah.
when you're in litigation with people, you're not supposed to talk with them outside of the,
Yeah.
the litigation. So I was in the same room with the cops during the depositions,
That
but
must
that
be
was
hard though.
very, very hard. Yeah, one time I broke decorum. This
Yeah.
the detective who had pretended to be my friend, the one who had
Yeah.
conveyed the threat, like he waved at me and nodded his head, and like if we were we were
Like
friends from back in the day.
disrespectful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, and then I'm like, yo, dude, like,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking like, yo, I yelled at him actually. I
Yeah.
said,
Like he put
yo,
you
you
away for
cost me,
16 years.
you cost me 16 years of my life.
Yeah. That's
And
insane.
just as quickly, he said he yelled back out, I didn't cost you anything.
You think they'd be remorseful, like so sorry, we got it wrong, like, and but he's acting like that. That's insane.
I agree with you. Yeah, yeah,
So,
it's
it's,
true.
yeah. So what was your family like after when you come out as well? Did you see a lot of them?
Yeah, the overwhelming majority of them did not come to see me while I was in prison. Like I saw my
Yeah.
brother 3 times in 16 years, not at all in the last decade. Grandmother passed away while I was in. My
Mhm.
mother was the only consistent visitor, but although in the last 6 years, I was lucky if I saw her once every 6 weeks. I was gonna be like once every 6 months. But
Yeah,
when I would see members of my extended family, it would be an awkward experience because I knew who they were intellectually
yeah,
and they knew who I was, but I was a different person and so were they. So, but eventually, I mean, we worked through that. I think I'm in a decent place now with everybody.
that's good.
I do make rounds on holidays and things like that. So I do, I do enjoy that. I put things back together as much as I can, but I mean, they're not like everyday factors in my life. They're just people that I see, a few times a year, but I do the
Yeah.
best that I can.
You still have a is your mother still alive today? Sorry.
Yeah, thank God
Yeah,
she is. I'm actually going to visit her tomorrow.
that's
Tomorrow's her
nice.
birthday, actually.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm gonna make the 3 hour drive and
Yeah.
go visit her on her birthday. Yes.
Does she still live in the town that
No,
this happened in? No.
no, she lives upstate New York now. She lives in
Yeah.
Cobleskill, which is 3 hours away from 3 hours away from me.
Yes. So what was it like for her, like still being in the town that this happened in? Did many people like have a go at her
Yeah.
for this?
Uh, I mean, it was difficult for her. I mean, people would, she would sometimes she said that, sometimes she'd be in the grocery store or other places, she would hear people talking about it,
Yeah.
and some people shunned her as well. So it was on that level. I mean, it didn't go, thank God it didn't go beyond that.
Yeah. That's good.
But it really impacted my brother, who was 3.5 years younger than him. I mean, his
Yeah. Go
kids
to the
in the
same
school,
school as you. Yeah.
he went to the same school district. I mean, and the kids in the school bus, they would, say his brother was a rapist, and they would say other nasty things. They try to hit him and stab him with pencils, and
Yeah.
eventually he dropped out of school.
Oh.
So he has yet to actually go back and get a GED. I mean, at
Yeah.
one point he turned to drugs and alcohol to deal with the pain of what happened to me, but he cleaned himself up. I'm
That's
happy to
good.
report that. But
Yeah.
the street mannerisms that he learned in the course of, while he was in that lifestyle, he still retains those mannerisms and language. So
Yeah. So if you still speak to him though, and you're still
I still
okay with
speak
him?
to him. I still
Yeah.
see him once in a while, but I don't like
Yeah.
hyperactivity. I don't like
Yeah.
cursing. I don't like, over the top, and that's not really my way. I like things, calm
Yeah.
and calm and respectful, and that's not what he is. So
Yeah.
it does get into a little bit of tension at times, and usually I can deal with him for 2 or 3 hours. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
but I usually tell him ahead of time, look, I'm gonna be. So my brother lives in Albany,
Yeah.
which is New York's capital, and I go there a lot to the capital because that's where the legislature is, and I regularly meet with elected officials as part of the advocacy work. So my life is dedicated to freeing people that are wrongfully imprisoned, that were the same position I was, and working for policy changes aimed at preventing that in the first place.
Wow. That's
So I go
amazing.
to all. Thank you. So I went to. I actually used some of the money that I got. I
Yeah.
used some of the compensation, and I started the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice, and we've been able to get 10 people home,
Wow. 10 people.
and yeah, from 2011 forward, we freed 10 people, and we helped pass 3 laws, and then in the coalition group, it could happen to you. And we
Yeah.
passed another 4 laws, and I serve on the Global Advisory Board, Restorative Justice International also. And so, I'm involved in a lot of advocacy work. But my point is that I go to Albany a lot for that advocacy work, and that's
Yeah.
where he lives. And so I tell him, look, I'm coming. I'm coming on this day. I'm going to be done by 5 or 6 o'clock. We can have dinner, and I got to go by 9.
But yeah, that's like most families. To be fair, you don't want to spend too much. You still love them, but you just don't want to spend too much time with them.
Right.
That's like most
But I,
families.
fi- but look, it's manageable, and it's better than not doing. It's better
Yeah.
than not
Exactly.
spending time at all, and it's better than getting into arguments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So when you were awarded your money, you spent
mhm.
some of it on building your foundation. That's right.
I
So
did.
just
I spent
explain
one.
more of that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I spent put $1.5 million from the money
Yeah.
into the foundation, give us that running start. Yeah, so I mean, I did do that, but I have the majority of the money just invested in conservative investments, and they pay me a certain amount of money every month, and dividends and interest, and that's all that
Yeah.
I spend. I don't touch the principal because I never want to go back to having
Yeah.
nothing at all. And that serves as a salary for me. So
Okay.
this
Yeah.
way I spend 40 or 50, I spend like really 50 to 60 hours a week doing advocacy work,
Yeah.
things related to the foundation, whether that's speaking across the country, some internationally, whether that's meeting with elected officials or doing media interviews or uh, approving cases and being, and I've become a lawyer as
Yeah.
well.
Are
I'm
you,
a
are you
lawyer.
district attorney? Is that right?
No, I'm going to run for that office probably in like
Nice.
7 years. But
Nice.
right now, I'm an attorney. I've entered some of the cases as a lawyer, so things related to cases, and I'm trying to raise money as well. I mean, my ultimate dream is to have an office in each state in the United States and in each country because I see this as a worldwide
Yeah.
problem. We have a crowdfunding site on Patreon. My crazy dream is what if there was 25,000 people who could afford $3 to $5 on a recurring monthly basis that would give us a large budget to help us to hire additional attorneys, paralegals, investigators, etc. So we could get more people. That would help us to free more people, and we could do policy work more and more than just the three states
Yeah.
that we're doing. So my point in all of this, though, was that I spend 50 to 60 hours a week doing
Yeah.
advocacy work, and I don't get paid for it, but it's okay because I make money in that other way that I mentioned to you,
Yeah.
and so that's what works it for me.
No, yeah, so it's very admirable. Like I'm sure most people would just take that money like and retire and just like chill for the rest of their life. But
Yes.
you've actually turned it into something good, which is the best part.
It is because look, I do believe my purpose in the world is to do this work. That's how I make sense of everything. That's how I don't lose my mind. And I do feel, I do, it is healing, it is cathartic, it is meaningful. And I feel really fortunate and blessed that, I am free because I know that there's a lot of other people that are wrongfully imprisoned that, have
Yeah.
not been cleared or will never been cleared. And I also feel like I've gotten certain educational opportunities not everybody has gotten. I mean, I've have the bachelor's, I have a master's degree. My thesis is on wrongful conviction cause and reform. I have the law degree. And so I think that uh, having those opportunities, knowing a lot of people haven't, so I feel a moral responsibility to do everything I can, in doing this advocacy work.
Yeah, wow, it's insane. It's just amazing what you've done. Like you've turned like the worst situation into like the best you can do. Like you're literally just helping people now, so it's crazy. So final question really, unless you have anything more to the story, but like what advice would you give your 17-year-old self on his first night in jail?
I would say, remember, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. And just when you can't go any further, you remember that might have been the key moment. That might be the key moment where if you just kept going, you might have had a breakthrough. So I would that would be what I would tell my 17-year-old self that this isn't permanent, that you are going to come out the other side. Just don't give up, keep going. But the other thing I'll quickly mention as we wrap up, I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention a couple quick things. So firstly, the there's a documentary short out about my advocacy work and life post exoneration on Amazon Prime, which is
Nice.
called Conviction. And I also want to mention that I do co-own the Recharge. It's called Recharge Beyond the Bars reentry game, which facilitates formerly incarcerated people
Yeah.
with reintegrating back into society through icebreaker questions that help them to reconnect with their friends and family. So I want to encourage people to check both of those things out. The website is rechargethegame.com, and people can check out that conviction there. And look, I'm on Facebook, on
Yeah.
Instagram, and LinkedIn. So I do answer messages there. And if you want to keep up with my advocacy work, articles I appear in, media interviews I do, articles I write, presentations that are upcoming, you can keep up with all of that stuff there. I do record my events and I share the link on social media. And I have done some presentations internationally. I've spoken in Canada and I did a week long series of events in Armenia and Argentina, and I'd
Nice.
love to come to the UK as
Yeah, you
well.
should definitely come to the UK.
I
Come
would
to
like to come
Liverpool.
to you. Yes, I would love to do that. I'd love to do some advocacy, do some speaking. I'd
Yeah,
like to, pack a lot of fun. And I love doing new things. I like trying new food, going new places, trying new things, new activities. And to me, that's how I experience the world. So hope, you throw the pebble out there and you never know
yeah,
what the ripple effect is. So all I need is one person, one
exactly.
person. And if someone has a higher, public profile than me, would love someone to just do a 30-second video, reference the foundation and our
Yeah,
work and encourage people on the crowdfunding site. But always on the lookout for people who can help in one way or another, because this is much bigger than what one person, even with a team, can do. We definitely need all hands on deck for sure.
yeah, for sure. It definitely seems like a massive global issue.
Yes.
I know I'll make sure to put all the links and everything in the description of the podcast. So make sure to check all them out. And just thanks for
Excellent.
coming on as well. It's just been like really great talking to you, and I just really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
That's okay.